and welcome to our Crazy8s Film Society short filmmaking insights, where you'll get a chance to chat today all about short filmmaking as part of Crazy8s and what our Crazy8s alumni have done even previously and after their experience. So we're going to be talking a lot about short films today. First, we do want to acknowledge that we are on the unceded, traditional, and ancestral territories of the Coast Salish people, including the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. And we wish to thank these people for allowing us to live, work, play, and create on these lands today. So I'll throw it over to you, Paul, to tell a little bit about how the day is going to go.
Yes, I'm Paul Armstrong, the Executive Director of Crazy8s. So we're going to be talking to some past Crazy8s alumni today, getting their insights on short filmmaking and drawing on some examples of their Crazy8s films and other films that they've worked on. So it's giving you a sort of an insight in how to make short films. I'm sure there are lots of great filmmakers out there, and you're wanting to know some secrets from some of our esteemed alumni today.
Mm-hmm. Crazy8s has been running for 23 years. Every single year, we find, foster, and incubate talent, all culminating with creating 6 short films in 8 days from start to finish. So it's fast and it's furious, and we kind of pump through directors and creatives through our program, and out the other side with a massive gala screening and after party. So some of these filmmakers today that you'll be meeting have just come through that process just in the last week or so. Others you'll be meeting are more esteemed alumni who have gone on to do a variety of other things as well. So why don't we bring everybody into the room? We'll do a quick little introduction of who you're going to be meeting within the hour or so. And we'll be obviously meeting everybody together, and then we'll be having one-on-ones with a lot of these amazing people. So first, Kay, she is a fresh director off of Weeds or Flowers 2, our 2022 program. Do you want to wave and say hello, Kay? Great, that's Kay.
Hello,
there you go. Stephanie Isaac, also a very new alumni with her film called Consumer of 2022. Say hello, Stephanie.
Hello, everybody. Welcome.
Great. Jay Kamal, he actually is a director on our 2021 film Bubba, as well as a DOP on our 2022 film The Gold Teeth. Welcome, Jay. Okay. You might want to unmute yourself if you're muted. I'm not sure there. And then we have Josh Aries and Daniel Irving. They co-directed Mr. James is Dead in 2020 and have gone on to be part of our selected program to go into the Telefilm Talent to Watch, and they with their project called PS Sorry for the Spelling Mistake. So give a wave and a shout out, guys.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, it's us.
Hey.
Hi.
Awesome. And last but not least, we have Lawrence Lamb, who did Cypher in, is it 2018? 2018?
2017.
2017.
Yeah.
And has gone on to be directing the feature film, The Chinatown Diner, that actually went through our Telefilm Talent to Watch. And we're going to be chatting a little bit about how to transition from short films to, to feature. So Lawrence, wave your hand again officially.
Hello.
Towards the end of the program. So yes, stay tuned, as these wonderful people will be able to share their insights in the next few minutes. But I'm going to chat a little bit with Kay, first of all. Kay pitched Crazy8s a couple times, and for those that are new to Crazy8s, it is a competitive program. Kay, I think it was the 3rd time you pitched to us, and you were successful with Weeds or Flowers 2. Is that correct?
Well, I have submitted things to Crazy8s, I think 6 or 7 times. And then Weeds or Flowers 2 was my 3rd time being in top 12.
That's awesome. Well, way to go. Now, let's talk a little bit about short films before. Have you ever made a short film leading up to Crazy8s?
I've done 2 short films before Crazy8s.
Okay. And what was those experiences like?
They were great. The first one was like, I had worked in the film industry for a bit. I had contacts. I knew some people. And I was like, let's just try and make a film. It was hectic. We lost our location the day before. All of these things. And looking back, I'm like really proud of that film, but definitely a learning curve. The second one, a little bit more prepared, but I'm definitely the type of person that will try to take on everything because I don't want to stress other people out, and I'm not great at delegating. So like trying to direct, and I acted in that one, and producing that one was a little bit too much. So it was nice with Crazy8s to actually be like, I'm going to get 3 producers and a production manager and give all of that work to them.
Now, your films, when you come up with a short film, now have you directed and written them all, or is all the short films you've done?
No, Weeds Are Flowers 2 is the first one that I wrote and directed.
Wow. So tell me a little bit about the writing process involved in creating a short film.
For me, a lot of the short film concepts I have either start with like one inspirational spark. So either it's like an idea for a frame that I really want to put into a movie, or the sensation that I want to explore in a movie. And then I think all of the ones that I submitted to Crazy8s, and this was before COVID times, I would like get an idea, go to Parallel 49th on Main Street, get a coffee, and then just sit there for 2 hours and write a first draft, and then work on that first draft over months or years until I was like, this is great. I want to make this now.
That's awesome. So what was your inciting moment into the creation of Weeds Are Flowers 2?
There are multiple there are actually 2 main inspirational moments for Weeds Are Flowers 2. One, I readily admit that I'm prone to jealousy very easily, and I don't think it's malicious jealousy, but especially with how much I'm on social media and seeing like my friends succeed in things, which I'm so happy for them for, but I can't help but feel just an immense pang of jealousy towards everyone succeeding when I feel like I wasn't. And then the other part of that is my intense fear of growing up. And as I start to think about like family planning, my fear around having and raising a child, those were like the inspiration for my short.
That's really cool. Would you suggest that that's what you should do when you're starting a short film, is sort of find something that is like intrinsic to you, or is it just coming up with a good story?
I think it definitely helps when you are writing about a topic that you are passionate about and or like intensely interested in. So it can be just like you are really interested in storytelling and that's what you want to make. And so that helps push you forward, because making a short film is not exactly easy. It takes a lot of asking for favors, and it takes a lot of sourcing things, and it takes a lot of like money as well. So if you are directing something that you've written, if you really want to see it done, then you'll be able to push through all of those obstacles and barriers a lot more than if it's just like, oh, I think this will do well in festivals, so this is what I'm going to do.
So fast forward from that Parallel 49 coffee experience to your first day of shooting your film. What was kind of going through your mind? How did you prep for that? How was this funded? How did you find a team? Unpack that a little bit for us.
The first film that I did, or the Crazy8s one?
Let's do the Crazy8s, the Weeds Are Flowers too, since it's so fresh.
I funded it myself. I just kind of asked my friends that were around me to help me produce it, and then that expanded our like circle for people who came on. There were a couple people that just like messaged me through Instagram when I got to top 12 that were like, hey, I want to do music for you, or hey, if you need a script supervisor, I'll come out, or hey, if you need that. We did post on social media for a couple of the roles and found people that way. The prep for the first day was intense, as I'm sure everyone will talk about. Just getting like the permits and the gear and costumes and the location, all of that was so intense. I didn't eat my first day, nor did I go to the bathroom at all that first day while I was on set. It's like a blur to me now. We also had to melt a bunch of snow that first day because it had snowed the day before.
So if you knew I guess, then what you know now, what's a couple of pieces of advice to filmmakers that might be starting to go down the same road as you for their short films?
I think one of the best things that you can do on your short film is have great communication with your DP. Like me and Kate had worked together before. She was the DP on my second short. But like we had discussed through shot lists and had a plan of where to go, especially when you don't have that much time and you don't have that much money and you're using people who are passionate but maybe not the most experienced. You want to have a plan and you want to be as precise and concise as you can be. That I think is the most important thing with short filmmaking.
That's good advice. Well, why don't we play Weeds or Flowers to your trailer? And again, thanks so much for your little tidbits of insights, but we'll end our quick little conversation with you, Kay, with your trailer.
Let's do it.
Welcome to the neighborhood.
Oh, thanks.
Hey, are you a gardener?
My first time.
You make it look really cool. I'm like, how hard can it be, right?
Whoa, nice garden.
Inspired the neighbor to join the Green Thumb cult, huh?
I think she's just doing it for fun.
Oh! Flowers are growing like wildfire. I can hardly keep up.
I did everything right.
It's just a garden.
I thought this was something we could do together, but no. But you have given me nothing. What can I say? I guess I'm just blessed with green thumbs.
That's great. Oh, I love it. I love it when you see a trailer after you've made a film. It's so great. So congratulations again, Kay. That's awesome. Any last words of wisdom before we sign off with you?
I would just say anyone who wants to make a short film, do it. Especially in Vancouver and BC, there are so many people here that will help you.
That's awesome. Great. Well, thank you so much, Kay. Now I'll bring in Stephanie Isaac, who is also a fresh new director from this year for her film, Consumer. So we get to hear all about Consumer. So Stephanie, I'm going to put you on the spot. What is Consumer all about?
So Consumer is a film that explores diet culture and toxic beauty culture and its effect on young people. We have a young woman as the star of our film, but really what's happening to young people and the constant pressure to be perfect.
That's amazing. So how did you come up with this idea?
So this is subject matter that's very close to my heart. I dealt with things like disordered eating and orthorexia for many years. So it was really tough for me as a young woman to wrap my head around how I felt about my body and how culture made me feel about my body. So the idea, I'll never forget it. I was just walking down the street trying to, think of something that I wanted to work on. And I don't even know where it came from, but this idea of somebody eating a tapeworm to lose weight just sort of popped into my head. And I really love stories of women doing bad things. I like the idea of exploring important issues through horror and the darker things. So it just felt like a good fit.
That's awesome. Let's actually play the Consumer trailer and give everybody a taste of what this is right now, and then we'll come back and ask you some more questions.
Sure.
I know.
This is Rain.
That's Sienna Stone.
Today is her first day of high school. Sometimes Rain wishes she could cut the flesh away from her bones.
Tapeworms are parasitic invertebrates.
My aunt got one in Bolivia. She lost 12 pounds in 3 weeks.
This is it, darling. Everything you've ever wanted.
Eat us! What are you doing?
We are hungry!
Nothing!
Shut up! Hungry! Hungry!
I don't want you anymore. Please stop it! Stop it!
So pretty intense.
My feedback when we were editing the trailer, I kept just saying, I need it more intense. It needs to build more.
Trailer is everything. So tell us how you came about getting all of your crew as well, because obviously when you embark on a short film that looks like a lot of locations, animals, etc., etc., how are you able to wrangle everybody literally and whatever, the horse thing? How are you able to do all of that?
So it started with my DP, Rob Zawistowski. He and I have worked together before. He's DP'd the last short that I made as well. And Rob sort of comes with his own stable, pun intended, of people. So we were really lucky. He brought a lot of people that he's worked with and that I've worked with before on board, and everybody was really keen. And from there, I had 4 producers, which is a pretty rare, I believe, with Crazy8s. A lot of people had 1 or 2, but I think we were really fortunate to have 4, because I think once you're in the indie film community, everybody has their own networks. So we really were able to pull people in just by approaching people individually. We did post on social media. I think we got maybe 1 or 2 people that way as well.
That's cool. Now you use live animals. Anytime, obviously, when you use animals in any kind of short form or long form or feature, it gets complicated, of course. How did you go about using animals, and how did you work with them on set? And did you have animal wranglers and things like that? Mm-hmm. And also, how did your talent connect with that animal before screening?
So the horse was the first cast. The first thing in the film that we cast. And we visited about, I don't know, half a dozen stables. And it was really about finding a horse that was considered bomb-proof. That's a horse term where a bomb could go off next to the horse and they wouldn't react. So you're looking for a horse that has a lot of experience with working with a lot of different people, is really non-reactive. So that really affected which stable we were able to go with. We found one that had 2 wonderful horses that we used, Bailey and Swagger, in the film. And Nick, who is one of my producers, is also very conveniently an ex-professional or competitive horse rider. So they were there every step of the way. They were the ones sort of assessing the horses as we go to see how they felt, if they were truly bomb-proof or whatnot. So I learned a lot about horses. And, you know, it was actually a really smooth experience for us. I think we were very lucky. There's that old adage of don't work with kids and animals. And I don't, this experience wouldn't have me agree with that. The horses were wonderful. We did visit Swagger ahead of time because Eden, our lead character, would be obviously spending a lot of time with Swagger. So with horses, it's just important that they meet the person, they become comfortable with their presence. And then it was about keeping everyone calm. You know, if you are ever working with horses, it's important to keep big pieces of equipment sort of out of their eye line. So that was it was a little bit of a hurdle, but again, we were so blessed with the stable location. It had such beautiful natural lighting that we didn't have to bring a lot in.
That's great. And then in terms of like your experience as a filmmaker making a short, in our case, very compressed amount of time, what was your high and also what was your low of creating something in a short form context?
Oh, high and a low. I mean, I think the high was really the gala. It was, you know, it's just so wonderful. And not for me, like it was so, it's hard to put into words how proud I was for my team to be able to see the film. Because, you know, when you assemble people to make a short film, it's truly a miracle that it happens. And everyone worked so hard. So it was so rewarding to feel everybody's enthusiasm and see all of that hard work pay off. And, you know, people really invest in the storytelling, I think, you know, on a team that functions well. People are there to really help tell the story, not just make a film. So, so that was really great. A low, we did lose our editor on day 1, which was, it was a moment. But that was sort of fixed pretty quickly and without my knowledge, quite frankly. I was told at the end of the day, hey, we don't have an editor, but now we have 2 new ones. And actually, Josh Aries ended up being one of our fantastic editors, and he's going to be on here in a second. So it sort of felt like he was always meant to be one of our editors, and both of our editors just worked out so well. So rolling with the punches, that's a big part of short filmmaking.
That's awesome. And your advice for somebody who is maybe has never penned anything, never done a short film before, is a bit like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing, what advice would you give them?
I would agree with Kay in that it's really helpful if you do care about the story that you're trying to tell. I just...
Oh, looks like Stephanie's frozen a little bit there. I know that Stephanie was, oh, there you are. Are you there? Stephanie was, oh, okay.
Am I here? I don't know.
We can hear you. Oh. Looks like she's
there. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. That's great.
Okay. You can still hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
Yeah. So go for it. Yeah. Finish your thought.
Yeah, I think that it's really important. Oh God, what was I saying? You asked me about advice that I would give. Yeah, I think important to for your storytelling to come from a place of truth and I like to write from a place of felt experience, because I do think at the end of the day, that's what people connect to. I would say you have to choose your battles, know which hills you're willing to die on for your film. I think that a couple key things with short filmmaking anyway, especially in the Crazy8s experience, is you have to be adaptable. Things are going to get thrown at you. And also, I think holding on to anything too tightly can sometimes suffocate things in the end. So be willing to listen to other people's ideas. Stay open to the possibility of being surprised by things along the way. Have 4 producers. That is my advice. Have 4 producers. And just as a director, if you're going to direct something, the one thing that I learned that was a big one in this experience for me was that, no one else is going to prioritize your directing time in your preparation. So there's a lot of work that you have to do as a director to get your head into the story, to really examine each scene and know exactly what your expectations are going to be for it. And no one's going to prioritize that time for you. You have to do it yourself, because you will get sucked into meetings for 24/7. So if you don't carve out that little bit of time every single day for you to put your head into the story, and do a lot of thinking about what you want to do, then it's gonna be day one and you won't have thought about it. So
that's great. And last question, how do you want your film to have impact after it's made now?
I would love for people to watch the film and give more thought to their own relationship to their bodies and to diet culture and the expectations that we put on young people. I've spouted these statistics so many times, but self-harm in young girls has increased 150% since the advent of smartphones. And it's just an undeniable statistic that I think needs talking about. And I already at the gala, people were coming up to me and sharing their stories with me, and far and above, that's been the most rewarding thing so far, is to see that people are actually, seeing themselves in the film, and it's speaking to something that I think is important.
Just to top up on what Stephanie's saying, yeah, Crazy8s does offer a huge sort of gala screening event following the creation of our 6 films. And so you'll have a few filmmakers here in this panel refer to that. So we usually have a building that seats about 1,700 people. And we do show the films at that particular screening. And I think it's really important to make sure once you've done your short film is to have that screening in some capacity. That way you can actually, as a person who has, produced a lot in my lifetime, you can actually see what is working and how your audiences react. And I think, Stephanie, you probably had some fairly strong reactions to your ending without giving away any spoilers.
We did. And actually somebody did an audio recording of people listening, and it was amazing to hear people's reactions. It was great.
That's awesome. Well, thanks so much, Stephanie, for joining us on this fun little talk back. And I'll now bring up Jay Kamal. Hi, Jay. You're up on screen. Congratulations. We're going to dig into this a little bit. You sort of ride 2 worlds, directing and director of photography. So 2 pretty massive creative roles. We'll talk first about your 2021 successful film, Bubba. Tell us a little bit about, well, first of all, you picked up a couple awards recently. Give us the award rundown first.
Hi, Erin. Very nice to see you. Thanks so much for having me here. Yeah, Bubba's been doing very well for the past year. I can't believe it's been a full year since Crazy8s 2021. It just feels like yesterday that that happened. Yeah, it's been doing extremely well. It's picked up about 9 awards so far. I'll probably try to list them all, but I'll probably miss one or two. But the most recent ones we won Best Director, Best Cinematography, and Best Performance at the Pacific Rim Film Festival in Victoria in Vancouver Island. And most notably, Kingston Gomez, our star, has actually picked up his third consecutive award for Best Performance. And this isn't Best Youth Performance or anything. He's competing with adults, and he's just been cleaning up at Vancouver Short Film Festival as well, and Real World Film Festival. So we're very proud of him, especially since it was his first film. And yeah, he's just such a talent, and he's been doing so extremely well in festivals.
And how old is he?
He's 11.
Wow, that's incredible to be competing with not just your peer group, but with the world stage, basically, is a pretty amazing thing. Yeah. Now, how did you come up with Bubba? Because you directed and you wrote it, correct?
That's right, I did.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about that creative process.
Well, as you mentioned, I write both the DP and the director world, and I'm a full-time DP. That's just what I do as a job. But I only direct when I have a story that I feel is worth telling, that I can't let it go without telling the story. So this Bubba was my second film since 7 years ago. Was my first one, so it's been quite a while. And I was having dinner with a friend who told me that when he was a teenager, his father had passed away, and his father was Muslim and his mother was Christian. So growing up in that environment was, very confusing and very interesting at the same time. And when his dad passed away, he requested that his funeral be held in both Muslim and Christian traditions, so that both sides of his family can grieve in the way that they're used to. And I thought that was such a beautiful thing, because the media kind of shows Christianity and Islam worldwide as being clashing and not really working together in harmony. But somehow my friend's father and mother made it work with both sides of their families, who are very devout and religious. And the funeral was just the perfect example of how both those religious beliefs could come together and work flawlessly. So as he was telling me the story, I remembered when I was 12 years old, I was at my uncle's funeral, and my uncle was very much like a father to me. And when he passed away, it was the first time that such a close family member that I cared about very deeply had passed away. So it made me think of the experiences a child has at a funeral, and it reminded me of my friend's story of how the two religious beliefs can come together, and how religion plays such a huge role in funerals. And I thought that this would make a great film. So came up with the idea, wrote it, pitched it to Crazy8s, I think 2 days before the deadline, as kind of a whim, not expecting it to get picked. And we just kept going through the phases until it made the top 6. And then I thought, well, I have to make this now. I have no choice. So here we are.
And so who did you give the director of photography reins over to? Because that must have been a bit tricky.
It is, yeah, especially since I'm a DP myself. So, I can't help but look at a monitor and think about the lighting and the framing and all of that. So picking a DP was very, very daunting, because I didn't want to be distracted from the directing and be paying attention to all of these things. It's just a habit. So I went with a really dear friend of mine, Sterling Bancroft, who we kind of came up together. I used to gaff and pull focus on his indie films as he was coming up as a DP. And I reached out to him asking if he'd be willing to do this project, and he was. And he brought with him such a talented crew that we ended up with a very high quality film. And the entire time as I was directing, I don't think I paid attention to the cinematography a single time, because it was exactly as I would have. All the choices he made would be exactly as I would have, but probably a little bit better.
Yeah, because that was my question. Like, how do you separate the two brains, right? One is the technical lighting, creative side, and then the other is like working with like actors. And yeah, obviously you wrote the script as well, so staying true to the written page, and then also obviously your own creative director piece. Take me through how your brain can jump around so quickly.
It's very, very hard. Like I said, on Bubba was pretty much like I said, it's really my second real short film. The previous short films were like film school exercises, so I don't really count those. But it's difficult separating them. But I was so in tune with the story, and I had this huge amount of responsibility to tell the story accurately, especially since we're showing religious themes that could very easily be misconstrued or could be misrepresented. So I had this enormous responsibility to tell it properly. And our actors were so invested in the film, and they were asking so many meaningful questions that I didn't really have time to think about anything else. I had to really concentrate on the directing and make sure that the story is told correctly. But more so, I think that what it is picking the right team off the top can really take that load off of your shoulders as a director. Because as a DP, I really love it when directors trust me and they give me the reins in terms of what my department is supposed to handle, because that's really when your crew members shine the most. So we made sure to pick the right team right off the top, and I trusted them completely. I knew the enormous levels of talent that they brought. And my job as a director was not to, sit over their shoulder and micromanage every edit and every light and everything like that. I just sat back. I made sure everybody was making the same film. That was the most important thing. But I tried not to interfere too much in their process, and I wanted to see what they bring to the table as artists. And I think that's the reason the film ended up so technically strong in every department, was because everybody brought their A game, and they were just as committed and invested in the project and considered it their own as I did.
Great. And so you're able to sort of not micromanage, sit on your hands, be the expert in the area you're supposed to be in. I want to talk to you a little bit about casting, because casting for a faith-based show is obviously tricky, especially if the casting pool doesn't have a ton of actors of that faith or of that religion or that culture. How did you tell us? Yeah, how did you do your casting? What did that look like?
Well, casting was really tough. So about 7 years ago, I directed a short film that had a lot of Arabic-speaking cast, and we had a hell of a time trying to find cast, especially a little boy, which also, I think I have a pattern here. It also started little boy, and it was a little bit difficult with this one, mainly because there's so much Arabic in the film. I think 3/4 of the film is probably in Arabic. So we got matched up, thanks to Crazy8s, with the Lali Tilly casting, and they did an amazing job finding us our cast. I still couldn't quite find the right roles for the father and the uncle. So what I ended up doing is I used a little bit of Instagram casting. And a good friend of mine gave me some Instagram handles for two actors who were Abraham Asto and Hani Mefti. And I looked them up. I looked at every one of their photos. I watched every one of their videos to get a sense of their personality and style. And I messaged them and I asked them to just meet up for a coffee, just to kind of get to know them before they fully knew what really my intentions were. And my producers made fun of me in the sense that they said that I date my actors. That's my casting process. I take them out for dinner and I get to know them before I tell them what's going on. So yeah, Abraham and Hani both struck me as, they told me about their experiences growing up and experiences as Middle Eastern actors. And I felt that they brought such a genuineness to the character and so much depth that they were the obvious choice. So we ended up with them for the role of the dad and the uncle.
Awesome.
And both,
are you friends with them now?
Yeah, actually, I was about to say they're both some of my best friends now. So we've been working on other projects and writing scripts together, and we're going to do some more good work. Awesome. And as for Kingston, obviously, is the other, and Helena also is a good friend of mine who was, I met her on set when I was working on 2 Sentence Horror Stories, and she reached out when she saw that we got picked for Crazy8s, and we discussed it, and I actually surprisingly thought of her while I was writing the role. So it was a nice little serendipitous moment.
That's amazing. Well, why don't we play the trailer for Bubba, and then we'll come back and talk really for a minute or so about what you just DP'd recently as well. Such tearjerker. I'm thinking I never watched that film without crying. Now, recently you just DP'd a 2022 film called The Gold Teeth. Explain how you got involved with that project and how that felt moving from director back to DP in the short film world.
Yeah, The Gold Teeth was an interesting project. One of my producers from last year, Panta Mosley, who was actually on the exec board for Crazy8s, she told me that there's a film that's pitching that I think that you'd really love, because I told her how much I really love telling meaningful stories, especially cultural stories. And she introduced me to the director, and I spoke to Ali Reza, and we connected right off the bat. And I really loved the story. I really loved where he was coming from. And his directing style, and that's how we ended up getting matched up.
That's awesome. So I guess your advice would be, just keep working on whatever, whether it's DP or directing or writing, and just do all the things you can do.
Yeah, pretty much. Everybody says, how come you're a director when you're also a DP, and why do you also edit sometimes? Why do you do this? Nobody says you have to choose. It's very easy to get pigeonholed in the industry as one thing. And that makes it easier for you to get work sometimes, because people don't see you as a jack of all trades. But really, just follow your heart. If you feel like DPing a project, then shoot it. If you feel like directing, then direct it. If you feel like writing and not directing, then go for that. So whatever feels right at the moment. At the end of the day, we're artists, and we have to do what our heart tells us to do, not necessarily what the industry does.
Very wise words. Thanks so much, Jay, for that really insightful, and hopefully folks can find either The Gold Teeth coming up, and of course Bubba as it finishes the festival rounds. But again, thanks so much for joining us here today. I'm going to bring up Josh and Aries and Daniel Irving now to chat a little bit about their 2020 film called Mr. James's Dad, and what's the future for them as well. Hello, guys. How you doing?
Hello. Hi.
Hey.
Thank you for having us.
You're welcome.
I'm great.
Thanks for coming. So tell us a little bit about Mr. James's Dad. What is that all about? Here's your log line opportunity.
I'll do the first half. It's a kind of a father-son relationship story about a son who attends his estranged father's funeral and finds out that it's actually full of spy villains, and his father was secretly a spy.
That's great. And you guys co-directed this, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit about the co-directing process. I know a lot of people, when they're making short films, either it's a good thing to do something as a co-directing team, or is maybe too intimidating to do it, or how do you share the roles? Unpack your relationship on Mr. James's Dad in that professional directing capacity.
Yeah, okay. I'll take this one, Daniel. So the thing I like about co-directing is that, just like any other person, you have strengths and weaknesses, right? So in this case with Mr. James's Dad, it's an action comedy film. So I was very strong in action filmmaking, and Daniel's also very good with improv and working with the actors very well. So it was just a natural kind of progression of us kind of getting together like this. And our relationship actually started back in film school, back in Capilano University. And even back then, I worked as an editor a lot, and Daniel was also very strong in directing. So we just kind of kept, crossing paths a lot of the time, eventually going to Run and Gun, and then just building a good friendship and relationship until it brought us to Mr. James's Dead. So, yeah.
Yeah, Josh has a ton of experience with action, but also dance, and there's dance sequence as well. So Josh would we would both be working on the whole film, but Josh would take the lead for things that were more focused on that, and I would take the lead for other stuff. And so we kind of had this little bit of a give and take, push and pull.
And was this the first time you guys coordinated directing efforts?
Yes, this would be the first time actually co-directing together. But I felt even way back then when I was editing for Daniel for his stuff with Run and Gun and our projects back in film school, it just felt like a nice process because we just kept building on top of each other's things that make us laugh, things that make us want to tell the story to the best capacity, it just felt very natural, because we're just really good friends in general. So yeah.
That's awesome. This particular film, in my role anyway as an executive director, scared me a lot because I know it's very, very ambitious. Let's play Mr. James is Dead. Just a reminder that this was shot in 3 days and posted in 5 as what makes Crazy8s our program. But you can see all of the crazy amount of work that went into making this now award-winning film. So let's play the Mr. James is Dead trailer.
Mr. James was a dedicated father to his son, Tom James, who he loved very much. So I'm told.
The great Mr. James, dead. What a shame.
I never really knew this man. I never knew what he did, why he left, how he died, any of it. If you want my real opinion, then here's to Mr. James, a fearless man. And a shit father.
That's great.
Oh, it's so good to see it again.
Exactly. So action comedy, when you're dealing with a significant amount of cast and a lot of different stunts and setups, how do you guys approach that from the creative perspective? And rehearsals, I guess. Like, how much prep goes into this?
A lot, a crap ton, to say that. And I think that's such a good thing to have as a co-directing duo, is that we can separate the work, or when I'm feeling like kind of dead, Daniel can take over, or if Daniel's feeling done and out of it, I could take over. So yeah, there was quite a lot. So, you know, as we said before, like I kind of take care of like a lot of the technical stuff, I feel, with like, you know, editing and seeing the big picture and storyboards and whatnot. And also like in terms of rehearsals, like pre-visualization, which is like the idea of kind of shooting the film before actually shooting the film, like a shitty version of it. Part of my language, whoops, a crap, I'm sorry, like a really bad version of the film before actually making the proper film. So we can kind of like make our mistakes before actually going on set and like kind of mend it along the way. So there is actually a bad version of Mr. James is Dead, made with phones and a lot of phone footage. And yeah, it's really fun to watch. And yeah, that helps the process a lot.
That's interesting. Daniel, how did you feel with doing this sort of bad version of Mr. James is Dead? What did you learn from doing sort of the crappier version?
It was super fun. There's like a video of me coming over like a coffin, but it's like my kitchen table with a banana for a gun, which is one of the shots in the scene, in the film. But yeah, it's like Josh said, it's making your mistakes beforehand. And when you're on the day, obviously we didn't have much time. We had a lot of stunts, and the stunt performers were union, so we only had like a certain amount of time that we could actually rehearse with them, because they're obviously busy, and then also there's like union fees and stuff for, they only give you so much rehearsal time. So we had to like show up and know exactly what we wanted to do and shoot it and get that rehearsal done, because all of the time was so precious. And so having all of that planning beforehand, all those shots planned out, having had those conversations beforehand with the cast about what we're looking for, I think really paid off. And
now you guys are still creating together, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so are you finding that you're bringing in the same sort of preparation, the same sort of techniques in every project that you do?
Yep. Yeah. So we still pre-vis a lot. We still, you know, try to storyboard as much as we can, get the key moments and the key shots that we want, and build up to those moments. And, you know, that way it kind of gives us kind of like a guiding star, like a North Star for us to kind of go towards. And yeah, it's a lot of fun.
And it saves the rest of your crew on the day too. It's always an unfortunate moment when the director's sitting there thinking and everyone else is waiting for them. So at least if that happens to us, we can say that we did our best to avoid it beforehand.
That's great. Now you've gone on to do some great content on TikTok, which is amazing. I believe it's the 5 Fingers of Fury, which is finger fighting. And then you're also been selected through our Telefilm Talent to Watch as I guess an entry to Telefilm for your latest potential feature called, I'll throw it over to you guys.
P.S. Sorry for the spelling mistakes. I don't know if that was in time on your end. On mine, it wasn't.
What? Oh, it was.
Well, there's like a delay, right? So.
Okay.
Wasn't that. So tell us a little bit about what that's about.
Want to talk about it, Daniel?
Oh yeah. It's like 3 eccentric individuals get trapped in an experimental therapy session, and then they have to fight to make their way out alive. So it's like a kind of how crazy, insane, wacky adventure, action, depression, comedy can we get inside one room. And it's these three people who all have their different mental issues that are kind of working through basically therapy. But the therapy is like all of the stuff that's on your inside, and it's taken to the outside and kind of explosive, like action and drama and musicals and dance. And so we're hoping that someone will believe in us, even though that's a little bit ridiculous, the same way you guys did with Mr. James's dad. So.
That's great. And how do you transition your brains from short form to feature? Do you look at them the same, or do you look at them as completely different beasts?
In my opinion, I think it's pretty similar. It's just the fact that it's just longer, I guess. We haven't really done a feature just yet, so we're actually applying everything that we learned mostly from the short film world to the feature world. So, you know, we tried and tested a lot of methods of directing and working with the crew, and we kind of have a really good, solid way of approaching it, which is very much like crew oriented and like making the film family feel like an actual family. You know, like we want to be excited to go to film on our sets. We want the energy to be exciting, and we're carrying that into the feature filmmaking world because it worked with us so many times. And I think, yeah, it just carried from a lot of experience making short films with Daniel and Alex and Louisa and all our little film family that we're kind of like making together and growing up. You know, it's gonna be so fun. Yeah.
So, P.S. Sorry for the spelling mistakes is basically submitted to Telefilm Talent to Watch through Crazy8s. For those that are watching, Crazy8s is a feeder to this program through Telefilm. It's called Telefilm Talent to Watch, and we take in applications yearly. I believe this is the second year we've done it. We shortlist those projects and pick one, and then that one is sort of the one that's representing through our organization to Telefilm. So good luck, guys, with that. I'm so excited to see if that will actually come to fruition. And everybody keep an eye out for, the Josh and Daniel team. They're kind of kicking butt everywhere they go. What's your account on TikTok for folks to find your Fast Fingers of Fury or Five Fingers of Fury?
At Daniel and Josh.
On TikTok.
Daniel and Josh.
Daniel and Josh on TikTok. Just Daniel and Josh. At Daniel and Josh. Okay, so great. Well, awesome. Thanks so much, guys, for joining with us today. Good luck with your feature. We really hope it works for you. And thanks for sharing how to co-direct together on projects that are not easy.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you
Thanks
for having
so
us.
much. Yeah, and then we'll bring up Lawrence Lalam. Lawrence actually is doing the Telefilm Talent to Watch project and is an alumni, of course, of Crazy8s. And is that a cat in your arms, which is pretty awesome.
This is really cake.
Yeah. Oh, so cute. Gotta love an online cat. So Lawrence, you did Cypher in 2017, I believe, which was a little short. Let's actually play that trailer, and then we'll talk a little bit about how you jumped from short form to now basically producing a feature. So we'll play Cypher.
Welcome to Chaos 77.7, a little heaven for your ears, with another dose of hip-hop history with your Shakespeare radio host, DJ Myth OG. Yeah, you know me. Oh, tonight, my children, I want you to trip with me to back before Myth put the O in the OG. You feel me? To when this culture witnessed a moment so profound that it was forever etched into the collective hearts of our hip-hop sound.
Awesome. I believe Cypher is actually up on the Crazy8s YouTube channel. So if you wanted to pop over to that, you can see it. Some of the films we talked about today are not up there yet because they're still doing the film festival route. And once they're sort of done, then they'll be uploaded to our YouTube channel. But Lawrence, you've had a lot of success with a lot of the things that you've touched. Obviously, Cypher was one of them. And then a couple of years ago, you went through the Telefilm Talent Watch through Crazy8s and was accepted through Telefilm Talent Watch. So you'll be creating your feature, The Chinatown Diner. Let's start a little bit with what The Chinatown Diner is all about.
Yeah, The Town Diner is a coming of age crime drama about a daughter of a real estate tycoon who runs away from her dad here, from China to here in Vancouver, and finds this and falls in love with this this Chinatown diner by day and underground hip hop club by night, and sets out to save what her father is trying to destroy and redevelop, all the while trying to avoid gangsters and ghosts. And yeah, that's what it's about.
Awesome. Now, is this your first like longer format since your shorts and music videos and things like that?
Yeah, it's my first feature length narrative work. I've done a lot of work like for my day job. I mostly do a lot of editing actually, and usually in the documentary space. So I have like edited 2 documentary features, and yeah, so it's my first foray into narrative feature length work.
And you're writing this as well, correct?
Yes, I'm writing this, and Tesh Kuntakunda, I hope I'm saying that right. He also was a Crazy8 director 2 years ago, for Mom vs. Machine. He's been helping me with the writing. Kind of like he's kind of co-writing. It's kind of been he's a co-writer, and it's kind of been like a process because I've never worked with a co-writer before. So yeah, he's helping me out.
That's great. So similar to what Jay was saying earlier, wearing multiple hats. Obviously, you're a director, you're a writer, you're an editor. What other things do you do?
I do what I need to do. Cheerleader, hype man. Yeah, I just keep the vibes.
Yeah. So moving to actually having to write a feature, what's been that process like? Obviously you need to have a solid beginning, middle, and end, just like you would a short film, but it also, requires a lot more plot points and ABC stories and conclusions. What's that writing process been like?
It was an interesting process. I had this story in my mind for like a long time, and because my mom's a realtor, and it was kind of inspired. I was like following all the crazy things happening in Vancouver around housing crisis and housing unaffordability, but also like with the money laundering and all that. So I was inspired by my mom, and I wanted to get into that world. And I actually had been, I think I've been like thinking about this world and these characters since I got into film. I remember like the first time I met Joe McCarthy. Shout out to Joe McCarthy, who's an indie film king. He love that guy. First time I met him, we went to the Whistler Film Festival for my grad film. I was like 10 years ago or something. I don't know, maybe not 10 years ago, like 2013, 14, something like that. I had this idea, and since up to 2020, which was the year that I applied, I had actually been writing. I've been trying to write it and write bits and pieces, had characters and scenes, and actually it wasn't until it was in 2019 I was like, I'm gonna write this, I'm gonna do it. And I ended up taking a job that I didn't like, and I was like, okay, just because I need the money. And then I had a month or 2 months or something, 3 months. It was a really short amount of time. I think it was just a little bit more than a month or 2 months. I wrote the first draft of it. And yeah, anyway, so yeah, it was a long journey. It's taken me. I'm still working on the script. It's taken me 2 years, and I needed that time to work on it because the story's changed so much since I first started on it. But a lot of the obstacles have been mental obstacles and working against self-doubt. and yeah, just learning to love writing and doing that's been the biggest thing for me that I'm glad I could learn.
That's great. That's awesome. Where are you guys at with the funding of it right now? Give us that in a little nutshell.
Yeah, so Telefilm gave us 150, and we raised another about we were up to like 250 now, through grants and other grants, and yeah, I think we might be raising some more, and yeah.
That's great. And it's set to go to camera when?
September. Yeah. September. So I got to finish the script in the next, next 2 months or month and a half, and yeah, then it would be prep in July and August, and shooting in September. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, I mean, I could talk forever about self-doubt and imposter syndrome and all of that, but I think we'll have to save that for an extended workshop, because I think it really is hard, when you're when you're fighting against your creative self, and there's all kinds of self-reflection that goes on, especially when you're trying to find those things from, yourself and the world around you and the characters in your life that all add to that. But appreciate that. If
I could, I know we're like running low on time, but if I could just say a little bit about that, I feel like there's a lot of like when you're sitting in a room by yourself and not like, with your collaborators, then this is where you can get the most neurotic and that voice, that negative voice that's like, this ain't shit, or like, like it's just like, oh, this is not good enough. That voice is like the loudest in that quiet room. And I feel like that process of that self work on yourself, or like how you feel about yourself as a human and as a creative, that's like important to address, or like you kind of really find yourself like working with that and like trying to be aware of that voice, and when it comes in, and knowing when like you're like, that's that voice, like I try to remind myself to watch out for that voice. And even just like I'm like not overwhelming myself by trying to like, oh, I gotta hit like 2 pages today, or like I gotta hit, like I gotta do 5 pages today. I'm just gonna enjoy writing this bit, and if I only write 1 page, if I only write one moment, I'm not gonna be too hard on myself, and that's helped with me just enjoying the writing of it. Yeah.
That's so amazing. That's awesome. Well, we're all excited for you. We're all gunning for you. We reach out if you need any support for Chinatown Diner. I think everybody on this session here would be lined up to support in some way, shape, or form. We'll bring everybody back into the room as sort of a final farewell and goodbye, and any other questions that might be coming in as well. I know that what Lauren says about that battling of the creative, I'm sure we can all agree on this panel that it sneaks up in the most untimely places. Any last thoughts from anybody around share a little bit about any last bits of advice, I guess, for those that are watching today?
I'll say something that was extremely helpful that a couple of other people have mentioned, but I just can't say it enough. Storyboarding. If you've got a tight timeline, it is just, there's this software that myself and Rob, my DP, use called Cinetracer, and it's still in beta. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but you can actually go in and you can mock up all of your locations and mock up lighting, positioning, and everything like that. So you can really test things out. So I think that was what helped us a lot, because our film was really plot heavy, and we did have to really move, and we had multiple company moves. So storyboarding, make friends with it.
Great tip. Anybody else have some must share knowledge?
Try meditation.
100%. I agree with that.
Running is also really good. I've gotten into running. Yeah.
So
looking after yourself.
I think a real
I'll share something which I'm still not.
Go ahead, Kate.
I'm still not great at doing this, but like, don't stress too much over. Oh wait.
We can hear you.
Go ahead.
I think she's lagging a little bit. Oh no.
Well, Kay will put a pin in that thought. Anything from Jay? Jay, you have any thoughts on suggestions?
Well, just
sorry, my Wi-Fi is terrible.
No worries. We'll pop to Jay and then we'll come back to you, Kay.
Echoing what I said earlier is trust your team, build a good team and trust them to bring their talents to the table. And tell the stories that mean the most to you, even if they're sensitive or if they address kind of a traumatic subject that happened to you. Those tend to be the best stories.
That's great. Good advice. And Kay, now over to you. You're back.
For your short films, something that I still have to get better at is that, but something that Zach Lipovsky said in our director's talk yesterday is just make things. If you want to make a film, don't worry too much about having the best camera or the most lighting. Like, just start making films. Your first one might be awful. Like, my first one has many mistakes, but then you just keep on making films. You'll find people who have better equipment. You'll get more locations. You'll get more contacts, and just keep on building it up and make as much as you can.
Awesome. Great. Well, on that note, thank you all for joining us for this fun director sort of insights. Of course, I think what you just said, Kay, is so important. Just make stuff. And as you journey through making stuff, I think what Lauren's saying is, meditate, Daniel, run, Jay, arm yourself with really great people. Same thing with Stephanie, definitely help great crews and find programs that you really love. And on behalf of everybody here at Crazy8s, we're so excited to continue to find, foster, and incubate talent here in BC. And hopefully we'll continue to see more and more amazing filmmakers come through the program and out to make short films, including you watching here today. So thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.